Everybody, welcome again to Insight Meditation Community of Charlotte. Very happy to see you here, and you Zoomers, happy to see you. Welcome. And the Dharma leaders that are here, happy you're here. Thea, Clyde. Denise. See, I'm glad I mentioned that because I didn't even see you. Thank you. So everybody, let's have a little stretch. Maybe smile at your fellow yogis. Look around the room and hey again. Okay. So the Dharma leaders will appreciate that. I wrote 3 Dharma talks because it just happens when you write a Dharma talk, right? And I sort of, during my sit, decided which one I would talk about. That's not common. But so I always forget to say I'm Debbie George, one of the Dharma leaders here. We're going to talk about what we resist persists, okay? And how to work with that. Anybody interested in that? Me too. So it always comes back to the Four Noble Truths. Let's revisit the Four Noble Truths. That's really all that the Buddha taught, suffering and its end. And I'll use the term stress in place of suffering. It's another translation I think we can relate to more easily in the West. But sometimes I'll use suffering. So the first is that inherent in life is stress. It's part of life. Okay. The second truth is that the cause is our self-centered craving or clinging to how we want things to be. Okay. Based on our kind of idea of ourselves. It's a selfing activity. The third truth is that there can be an end to stress. And that means letting go of this clinging, really letting go of this I-making. The fourth truth is the training program, the Eightfold Path. We're going to be focused on the second and third, the cause and the end. Okay, cause our self-centered craving. The end is really letting go of that. Not as easy as it sounds. So I have another possible, 2 other actual titles. One is If Acceptance Brings Peace, Accepting Things as They Are, Not Clinging. If acceptance brings peace, I do it all the live long day. That's another potential title. And the last one is by Flannery O'Connor. Give me the courage to stand the pain, to get to the grace, oh Lord. So the courage to let go, the courage to not think that we have to control everything and everyone, and that we actually can. How did you guys do controlling your own mind while you were meditating? Not good. No, it's not the nature of the mind. So sitting in meditation brings up our unfinished business, doesn't it? And sometimes we may not want to meditate. A lot of times, especially early on, it's hard to establish a meditation practice because you only really want to meditate when you're in the mood, which is when you don't need it. You're already pretty peaceful and pretty calm. But meditation, you're no longer have your distractions. You no longer, you're committed to that time period. And it takes courage to sit there and digest all this undigested experience and emotions that we, accumulate 16 hours a day. So this is natural that we might not want to sit and be with. So that's why we did that practice of inquiry and noting to help us. And feel free to, if it worked for you, to work with that a little bit, to help you stay with being here with this moment and what's arising. Helps us to be able to see more clearly what we've been distracting against. A lot of times we don't know. Have a, no, you're not part of this talk. Where is my little stuff? This is, again, I've had a lot of fun with Flannery O'Connor. Any fans of Flannery O'Connor? Yeah. Good man is hard to find. I write because I don't know what I think until I read what I say. I meditate because I don't know what is in my heart and mind until I sit and watch. So, reducing our resistance is reducing our stress. Increasing our acceptance means increasing our peace, our serenity, the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept what I'm resisting, to accept what I don't want to let go of, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Accept what I cannot change, and courage to change what I can, wisdom. So in meditation, we use the word discernment, which is wisdom. So being willing to sit in meditation with a willing heart will bring us this discernment. So there's a formula that maybe some of you have come across. Early in meditation, I learned it. So it's the pain that we might be avoiding. Pain times resistance equals stress or our suffering. So let's just say our pain is an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. And our resistance is a 3. So our suffering is 24, right? 8 times 3 is 24. What if our pain is a 3, not a lot of pain, emotional or physical or mental, so 3, but our resistance is an 8. It's the same suffering with just a 3 pain versus an 8. What if our pain is 10, but our resistance is a 1? We're open. We're opening our heart. We're listening. Our suffering is a 10. Or what if this resistance is a 0? So it's kind of interesting to think about. Ron Levine from Mindfulness and Blue Jeans, you can find him on the Insight Timer. He says acceptance is nothing more than the lack of resistance. Acceptance is not a state to achieve. Acceptance is what is left when there's no resistance. The key is to focus on the resistance. That's the key. This is what is preventing the acceptance to arise. We can't make it happen. We can't let go all the time. We're too geared, we're too karmically, habitual to hang on. We can't make it happen, but we can only set the conditions for it. So we can use these tools of inquiry, of noting, of saying yes, of metta, of kindly holding ourselves, of saying thank you, of saying, I've used this a lot when there's sadness or loneliness that arises. Okay, can we have tea? Let's have tea. I'm listening. And I'll have this mental image of sitting with the energy and having tea and really saying, I'm really listening. I'm here. In time, we get more skilled at seeing. So the story from the Buddha about this is when he sat under the Bodhi tree and the night of his enlightenment, and he said, I'm going to stay here until I understand, until I wake up. And the forces of Mara came in. So lust, greed, hatred, anger, all of these images and emotions came to try to pull him away. And what did he say? Mara, I see you. So that is really our job. Our job is whatever arises, we can't control what's undigested in us. We don't have a say of what is going to arise. We can only meet it in a more and more skilled way. And what's the best way to meet it? To have it calm? Listen, watch it, be present, be willing. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about cradling your anger, cradling your sadness. These are all ways to welcome the truth that we want to avoid. Seeing its shifting nature. So it's like, let's say it's a physical pain. Let's talk about a physical pain, like a pain in the knee or the back. When we soften to this area, we listen, we go to that part of the body that's screaming. We breathe, we stay present, we use the breath, we use the presence of our posture, and we just be with it. We see that it's not a static situation. It shifts, it's changing. And we may see it soften. We may see it go from ice to water. We may see it go from water to gas when we stay with it. I have a story that I'm going to share in a moment about that. So what do you think happens when you don't try to make the discomfort go away, but rather allow it to be fully present so that you can really see it? Sometimes that pain in the body will turn into an insight. Sometimes there'll be an experience connected with it. But meanwhile, the conditions you're setting up is allowing it to be there. What is our knee-jerk response? Get out. I don't want you. And we get into a tangle, whether it's a physical discomfort or emotional or mental. We don't want it. We don't want it here. We want it to be like this. I came here to get peace. I'm sitting to get ease. And so that's what we're doing. We're creating the conditions to allow it to be, to have tea, to relax with us, to listen. Flannery O'Connor, again, one more from her. She says, all human nature vigorously resists grace because grace changes us, and the change is painful. We don't want to change. This is an experience from Tara Brock that she shared. She's the practices of inquiry and noting what we did are actually ways to wake us up to the fact that we are suffering. Caught up in our stories, we can effectively deny the truth of our experience. I sometimes spend days being impatient and judgmental toward myself before I stop and pay attention to the feelings and beliefs that have been disconnecting me from my heart. When I do pause and look at what's happening, I realize I've been caught up in the suffering of anxiety and self-doubt. I've worked with many clients and students who reach a critical gateway when they finally register just how much pain they're in. This juncture is very different from feeling self-pity or complaining about our lives. It's different from focusing on how many problems we have. Rather, seeing and feeling the degree of suffering we are living with, suffering we're living with, reconnects us to our heart. And a few other stories, one from a meditation teacher, Sudhir Jonathan Faust. He told a story about for years he had excruciating pain in his back, and he sat with it and sat with it, and at one sit, he just opened to it. He just said, "Okay, uh, you can stay. I'm feeling you. I'm with you. I'm here." And he had this flashback of when his brother, quote, stabbed him in the back. Not literally. It was a betrayal. And he did never connected that. And from that moment, he just was gone. Joseph Goldstein tells a story about doing walking meditation, and for years had an excruciating pain, terrible pain in his knee. And he was doing walking meditation, and he just said, "Okay, all right, I give up. I'm gonna just live with this pain in my knee. I'm not gonna, it's just gonna be part of my life, and I'm gonna, it's how it is." And so he kept the walking, the pain just disappeared, and it was gone. And I'll give you one last story. I was on a long retreat, and because it was a long retreat, I had all these strong goals. I'm gonna show up like this. I'm gonna do this amount of diligence. I'm gonna work so hard. I'm gonna listen to the instructor. I'm gonna do all this, everything right. I'm gonna do it all right. And after about a week, I was doing walking meditation, and I was suffering day by day, suffering so much because the days lasted like one day was 2 days because we were meditating, 18 hours a day. And I had all this pressure I put on myself. So one day I was doing the walking meditation. I didn't think about it. I just stopped in the middle of the room. I was alone in this walking room. And I said, "I want to eat cake. I don't want to meditate. I don't want to do walking meditation." I wasn't speaking out loud. I was doing it in my mind, but I was having an absolute tantrum. I mean, an absolute tantrum. And then I stopped and I took a deep breath, and it was over. I was fine. It was over. I was all set. I went the next 3 weeks fine. So I didn't plan that. I just, So let me see. I think I'm going to end with. So if you do, there's a daily little quote you can get that Lakshmi shared with me from Sayadaw Tejaniya. You can sign up if you like. And this is from today. This is today's. Agitation is interesting. Instead of trying to make it go away, allow it to be fully present. so that you can watch and learn its nature clearly. Agitation's interesting. Instead of trying to make it go away, allow it to be fully present so that you can watch and learn its nature clearly. Thank you so much for your attention.